Hi there, I'm Mike Shope. Welcome to sunny Buffalo and ADP chasing on this Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, the day after St. Patrick's Day. This will hit risers and fallers in ADP. Cincinnati did the thing, and then some. Free agents still on the market. Pro days, McMillan yesterday. But most exciting of all, we welcome a new hero to our cast.
In Underdog Best Ball, ADP is set by two separate yet equally important groups: streamers that set the market and the slappies that chase it. These are their stories.
I mean, frankly, that Zach is a great and creative man. I mean, I think that might be his best work.
Zach Lenars, put some respect on the man's name.
That's it. He even said it right. Very good. Very good. Jacob Sanderson, welcome to the team.
Happy to be part of the team, man. This is great. 7 a.m. West Coast time. Pumped to be joining you guys.
You know,
you gotta love a clip so good that we're welcoming Jacob on, and our first reaction is about the clip and Zach who made it.
Yeah, fair. Non-derogatory, that's fair.
Non-derogatory, that's fair.
We know Pat's definitely on board here, to say the least, also starting at the 7 a.m. Tuesday slot.
Yeah, thanks, Pat.
Yeah.
Appreciate the accommodation.
Of course, no, that really speaks for itself, doesn't it? Look, this is the cold brew I'm drinking. This is straight jet. This is half water. This is half water right here. I put water into this, and it just never changed color.
Never changed color.
Okay. All right.
This actually works out well, though, Corinne, because you basically haven't been sleeping anyways as you attempt to sleep train
Yes.
undisclosed members of your household. So actually,
It's the baby. Our name is Vivian.
It's kind of
Put some respect on the name. Put some respect on the name.
respect on Vivian's name. Yeah, we're locked in. We're locked in at 9 a.m. Central Time.
I took a road trip to Long Island from Western New York a couple of summers ago for my son's lacrosse, career, as it is at this point. It's how it feels driving everywhere, and listened to the three of you guys for hours. I remember being stuck on a bridge in the Bronx, and just like, are we ever going to? It's such a long drive, and then you get to New York and it's traffic. But I had you guys keep me company, and so I've always been a Jacob fan, as well as you guys, as you know, our heroes, Pat and Davis, and Jacob, as we go forward here on ADP chasing. Very exciting. I also tried to basically impress Jacob last night with oh, I know this guy, and let me see if I can get Ron McLean on the show, and let me see if I can get Dave Hodge and these other people, Canadian legends in broadcasting. Didn't quite get there, by today, Jacob, but going forward, hopefully.
I mean, we need Peter Mansbridge up in this house. It's truly would be an honor. Thank you, Mike. You're all I
Eventually, it's going to turn into puck chasing. Eventually, we'll be doing puck chasing. Eventually.
I don't think I'll be waking up at 7 a.m. for that.
Never chase the puck. Go where it's going, or something. Anyway.
Yeah, skate where the puck is already going.
The puck's going to my bed, I think.
Well, as it is somewhat of a new day for ADP chasing, here we have T. Higgins. I don't know. Wasn't my idea, but a previous legend in ADP chasing lore with Sam and all the T. Higgins fun over the years. But he gets that contract in Cincinnati with Jamar Chase at the same time. We were talking yesterday in Buffalo, I think, how exciting and almost amazing, Jacob, that would be for a Bengals fan. It doesn't have to work out great, but here I have a team that I root for that kind of never does that. I've got guys who I've gone to the Super Bowl with, and forever I've kind of been feeling like this always gets away from me, that these guys are my favorite guys, my best guys are going to leave anyway, but in this case it doesn't happen.
I mean, I think it's a good call, not just from a fan service perspective, but I think it's the right football move. I'm not saying that it will work out, because it's hard to construct a Super Bowl winning roster, and I think that the Bengals are in bad shape in a lot of ways. But T. Higgins is a super valuable player. you're never going to be able to sign a T. Higgins in free agency. So to me, the idea of like they should have converted that money into other positions is a bit of a false choice. I think like what you can actually do is not go get the T. Higgins equivalent on the defensive line or at corner or the offensive line. You can sign 2 average starters for T. Higgins money at any of those positions, but you're not getting a T. Higgins caliber player at those positions. So to me, you have a 26-year-old stud that plays an important position. You lock them up, and then you just have to backfill the rest of your roster through the draft in a way that you would need to anyways. You have to get creative with structuring contracts to build a cap around them anyways. But that to me is like the table stakes regardless. You don't actually get better by jettisoning 26-year-old really good players at important positions.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because some of the reaction heading into the, like, should they sign both? It's like, well, teams don't really do this. You get your quarterback, you get the number 1 receiver, and then like the next contract really should be an edge rusher. They do have an edge rusher, so I think you could maybe critique that they prioritized him over Hendrickson. But it's like,
the defense is going to be bad anyways, and frankly, I mean, I always have to be the lone dissenting Joe Burrow person because no one else has the strength of character to put the name on these takes. I mean, I don't know if you want to go through the experience of sticking Joe Burrow out there with one good player and a bunch of jamokes. Like, I don't know if you want your 17-week plan to be Andre Yoshivas, Mike Gesicki, Trenton Irwin, and Jamar Chase.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily that harsh on Burrow. He's a pocket passer, so, you know, 2 awesome weapons is going to elevate you beyond just one. And if you have 2 awesome weapons, he's awesome. So, you know, that leaving the Hendrickson stuff aside, like, I think it does make a lot of sense to bring them back and build around the best part of your team. Like, the Bengals are built around Joe Burrow in the offense, and now they have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase locked up. Now, I mean, the dumbest thing is that they waited so long to do it and paid more money than they had to.
And I'm not going to credit this correctly, but I did see someone do this tweet. It literally might have even been Jacob. Someone do the tweet yesterday of like how much money the Bengals cost themselves by not doing these extensions when they were first possible. And they basically cost themselves 2 average starters, probably maybe 1.5, you know, about $30 million against the cap cumulatively. So, you know, and it's why did they do this? I mean, I think we all know this. They're cash poor. They hate to sign these contracts unless they absolutely. Frankly, the Bengals were probably hoping T. Higgins got banged up considerably this year, like actually hurt his hamstring and was willing to take like a sweetheart deal or something. That is probably in their heart of hearts what they were hoping. Tough.
No, I think you're right. Because I mean, they basically just procrastinated until they got forced into the obvious. Like this was a really easy one to get out in front of. Like you draft Chase was awesome right away. Like you should have been planning for that contract the second it became available. And he literally went to school with Burrow where they were amazing together. Like this, none of this should have been surprising.
T. Higgins
that's what makes it so hard to defend the Bengals, right? Because it's like I think they did the right thing, but they did it in the dumbest way. And I don't expect them to do smart things going forward to like back up my stance that they did the right thing. Like, it's not like I don't want to be backing myself into a corner where I'm like, the Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl. It's like, no, I think they're still the Bengals, but I think they got this one right.
T. Higgins is the 3rd highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Had they got this deal done before, he could probably be like the 11th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL had they done it when he was first on the table.
I mean, the reporting is he would have accepted the contract that Michael Pittman got like over a year ago.
Oh my God.
They were drafted back-to-back, picks 33 and 34 in the draft. And he would have accepted the same contract at $22 million if they'd done it like over a year ago. Right?
Wow.
Well, this is maybe the offseason where teams can get away with it. I mean, the points are indisputable, but you know, I feel like we've talked about it on this show. Right now, NFL teams are throwing the money, and we'll figure it out later. It's one of the takeaways from Philadelphia is how they pushed everything to 2029 and had the best roster in the league and won it. And I don't know, Cincinnati's defense was bad. They got to 9-8. Think about their season. I mean, they lose to New England in week 1. There's no excuse for that, but they lose to the Chiefs, Davis, by a point in week 2. I mean,
it's so crazy. Yeah.
The Chiefs were lucky to get out of there. They lose the game to Washington on that incredible Daniels to McLaurin pass on the Monday night. And we
Overtime to the Ravens.
The 2 Baltimore games, right? One is a missed field goal in overtime, and then Henry busts one and beats them in Cincinnati. And then the other game's back and forth, 35-34, a 2-point play. I mean, yesterday I got a call in Buffalo. Would you rather be the Bills or the Bengals? I think it's really close. I mean, I love what Cincinnati has in these 3 guys. Defense comes and goes, fluctuates wildly, and they're dangerous. I think a lot of the AFC was hoping that this would implode, and it didn't.
I'd rather be the Bills.
I'd rather be the Bills.
Yeah, you'd rather be the Bills.
That's easy for all of you. That's
Very
easy.
easy. Yeah.
But I mean, last year we're looking at like playoff stuff, and I mean, it was just so clear that like if the Bengals get in, like this is a dangerous team. Like you do not want to see the Bengals if you're any of these AFC teams. It's like, please give me the Steelers or whatever.
It's just very hard to win when you have like a bottom 5 defense, because it basically like you get to the playoffs and teams are just, I mean, it's just what teams did to them. Teams just abuse them. Like a good team against them was like, well, we're just going to get 30 and we're not even going to break a sweat doing it. And then it forces Burrow to be the best possible version of himself. Like Burrow does not have the luxury of like Mahomes just like randomly forgetting how to play football for quarters at a time. Like if that happened to if Joe Burrow did what Mahomes did last season and just was like the 15th best quarterback in the league, the Bengals would be like, I mean, I don't even know if they would have won a game if he had done what Mahomes did on
playoffs. I don't know if we're gonna win a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, but we've seen teams do this. I mean, the Chiefs did this. They got everything squared away with Mahomes, and then they go
figure out the defense.
They go figure out the defense. So it's not that they don't need to improve the defense, but they can still improve the defense. Like to Jacob's point, like now they just have to draft well, which is what every team is going to have to do. Like if you can't just, if you miss the playoffs and then you lock up your stars on offense, like you're going to have to draft really well.
And one bad draft year, like a year, if you don't get, like, let's just say the Bengals just, for whatever reason, this year, they just suck at draft. They don't get a starter either side of the ball, really. Or maybe their first round pick is a starter, but then no one else can start. I mean, Mike, you've seen this with the Bills. Look how brutal it was for Elam and Kincaid and Coleman to just be huge misses. Like, it just puts you in a spot where you're like, well, shit, I guess we're so what was the guys when the cornerback got hurt for the game against the Chiefs? What's his name? Benson?
Christian Benford, who was picked late in that same draft as Elam, so they got away with that because Benford is excellent.
But then Benford being out for that game basically just means like, well, we lose. Like if you play that game again and Benford plays, I would not be surprised. Every Chiefs play was targeting
Tyre Elam. Yeah. Who has since been traded to Dallas. Benford was, I think, concussed the week before against Baltimore. They had him out there against the Chiefs, and he didn't make it. He's up for a big contract. Just on Higgins before we move on. Pat, first, wide receiver 14. Is he a future riser, faller? I can't imagine he'd be a faller. What changes here? Anything? Did we assume he was going back? I really didn't, but I still like picking him.
I think he should be like a slight faller in the sense that he never really fell when he got franchise tagged.
Yeah.
And there was always, like, from a fantasy football perspective, the highest ceiling outcomes were that he left and went somewhere where he was just going to get like fed targets. He's a number one guy in my mind, if he's not in that situation. So, you could dream on stuff that wasn't never very likely, but like it opened up some ceiling if he were to go and just get peppered targets. Obviously, he can pay off an early third round ADP, but on the Bengals. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think he should move up. Like this has been clear for a while. And if anything, I feel like he never really fell from the jump.
I'm not sure he should fall. Like, I think this is, maybe it's not like the best spot, but I think it's better than most spots, especially with how bad their defense projects to be. Like, you're with probably the best fantasy supporting quarterback in the league, in Burrow. You have insane contingent value at all times if Jamar Chase ever gets hurt. And even with Chase playing, he's shown that he has one of the highest ceilings in the whole league. And like the way that, the game that we play, T. Higgins is really well suited, where he's going to have fewer, 12-point floor weeks than most wide receivers probably in this range, but like he'll have a higher rate of hitting 30, 35, 40. And that's perfect. He'll sign up for that every time. So I think he's a totally fine pick where he is on the Bengals.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I'm not really fading him, but it's just, I don't see this creating upward trajectory either. And it's always related to the player pool. Like, who are you going to take ahead of him? The guys.
I'd rather have Higgins than JSN Hill, I think.
Yeah. I get that. I totally get that.
Davis, agree?
So the thing that I agree with Pat's point that I think it hurts him a little bit, because the issue with T is if he did just have a bad touchdown year, like let's just like he just had, his foot gets ruled out on week 16. They happen to play some team that's starting their backup quarterback, so they're just up 21-0 at halftime. Like there are scenarios where T Higgins goes 6 weeks in a row not contributing to your lineup because the volume is just not there, because he's like a 25% target share guy or 24% target share guy, not a 30% target share guy. Had he gone to, frankly, even like, the Patriots obviously was the nutted spot, but if he had gone to one of these teams where he clearly would have been 192 targets or whatever penciled in, that takes you to a different tier of player. Where it's not just about how efficient you can be, it's about you add in the efficiency spikes with the absurd volume. Yeah,
it's like there was a chance at the open of this tournament. You're like, this guy might be a 1-2 turn guy by the end. So that when you take that out of the range, to me, like you should like tick down slightly. But do I think like Garrett Wilson with Justin Fields like should definitely be going ahead of him? Not really.
Not for me, thanks.
Well, the funny thing is the third round is
there's going to be like 200 less targeted throws on the Jets than the Bengals. So it's like even if his target share is 5 points lower, they're going to have the same amount of targets.
The third round is being drafted in inverse order. All the best picks in the third round are going at the end, and it's all the guys at the beginning are like, well, I guess I'll take Josh Jacobs. But it's like, who I really want? DJ Moore. I really want Marvin Harrison Jr. I really want Xavier Worthy. I really want Mike Evans. I really want Trey McBride. But it's like there's like this residual.
Trey McBride should be in the second.
I don't know. Adams. Davante, yes. I have a hard time, and I assume you guys are going to be against me on this, but saying, who I'd rather have than Davante Adams, Bucky Irving. I don't have a
very hard time.
If we all got memory wiped of the ADP constructs that we've been doing from the last 3 months, and the tournament just dropped tomorrow, and we were just like manually reordering these players, I think the 2-3 turn and the third round I think would get shaken up.
I'll be honest. I've done like 3 big boards. I'd go full sabbatical basically until mid-March.
Smart man.
So I am this person, Davis, and I would definitely rather have Bucky Irving.
No need for me
you'd
to
rather have Bucky Irving than Adams, just to be clear.
Sure.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
I don't quite like, we keep doing this with the Rams. Remember Allen Robinson? Remember the training camp?
I was Davante is way better than Allen Robinson.
Oh my God.
I was at training camp, and the whole offense is going to revolve around Allen Robinson, remember?
Look, I was a full fade on A-Rob. I'm not on that with Adams. Like I like Adams.
I'm not either. To be clear, we have him rated ADP. I think he's fine, but the idea that he should be up there at the 2-3 turn, this starts to remind me of Allen Robinson.
Robinson had already gotten old before he went to the Rams, and we questioned whether he was going to be age proof in that offense. Adams really has not quite shown that.
If you go to the Jets and Aaron Rodgers is willing to throw to you over Garrett Wilson, you'd be okay. But I don't know he's going to find
Allen Robinson
over Puka. This isn't what I'm used to.
Allen Robinson, the year before he went to the Rams, generated 410 yards on 66 targets in 12 games with 1 touchdown. It's not even
with the Bears.
It's different.
Horrific.
It's different.
Year. Like the whole Allen Robinson thing was ridiculous. It was like he was one of the worst wide receivers in the NFL, and then everyone was like, 3rd round?
I think it's Pat. I think it's more like, what if Robert Woods had previously been the best wide receiver ever of all time, as opposed to Allen Robinson? I think.
Did they sign Randy Moss? They got him.
Well, Moss obviously is the best ever, but Adams was the best
Jerry
wide
Rice came
receiver.
out of retirement. I would almost believe that Jerry Rice would be back.
Jerry, where would we take Jerry Rice if he signed a 1-year, $10 million deal with the Rams right now?
I wouldn't not draft him. At least,
The question
at least
everyone is
20
asking.
rounds, man.
Has anyone put their name on this yet? Just while we're doing Bucky Irving, has anyone like invoked any of the year one spike guys who then immediately sucked the year after next? Has anyone been brave enough to do that yet? Not sure I'm brave enough to do it, but
Floor is yours,
just
Davis.
wondering.
The floor is yours.
I mean, you know, a 186-pound guy who got injured twice as a rookie. It's this great running back class. Like, I'm just saying, I'm pondering it. I am pondering putting my name on that take. I'm not.
Did you read the Matthew Berry article about how much they love Bucky Irving?
Yeah, although
That
I
is
did.
my
Yes, I did.
blanket. I layer that over me at night and I cuddle it.
the love for Rachaad White last year was vocal. They wouldn't stop talking about how he was a 3-down back. Now, I guess you could say it took him a long time to switch it, but I don't. Yeah, I guess it really comes down to if they draft somebody. And White, in a sense, is cover because they don't like
Insulation.
And Tucker is cover.
Tucker's
cover. Yeah. And Samaje Perine, you know, he's pretty good.
3 years, 3 years, $22 million.
What was
how
that?
Good you feel, how good you feel about Bucky should come down to how did you feel for the 20 minutes that Samaje Perine was a Buccaneer for $22 million? Like, how did that make you feel?
We
And how does
nuked.
that
I'll
affect-
tell you, because we thought it was real. So I nuked Rachaad White, and Bucky basically
I
didn't
thought
move.
Rachaad White was getting cut or traded when I saw that.
Yeah.
I was rereading the Ian Rappaport update on the Rachaad White situation tweet to try and figure out if there was something in there.
I traded Rachaad White for a late third in Dynasty, Davis. When you have to make those cuts in FFPC, it's tight. It's almost like you save another guy with it.
In that league you and I are in, I traded Rachaad White for a first in that FFPC league.
Oh my God.
Last off season.
Last year. Yeah, that's
Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I liked what I got, but anyway, we have slides. And this is the first one. What happened here?
Oh man.
What's
Zach
the story here?
I went on this big long rant on the Swolecast.
Is this real?
This last year. This is a graphic that Zach has made from my stream.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not real.
I went on this big long rant on the Swolecast last year while advancing 3 best ball teams out of 1,400 about how I was not going to be able to do fantasy content anymore and have to get hired by State Farm. So this is a take on the Jason Light bit that Samaje Perine, because Jason Light, the Bucks GM, literally quote tweeted Dove Kleiman and said, "No, we did not. We did not sign Samaje Perine to that deal."
I guess. If only I'd known that, we could have tied those together. But that's really good.
That is a very good bit. Zach is.
He's cooking today.
Zach Lenars.
He is cooking.
Yeah.
Let's keep running. Risers. That's why you're here. ADP chasing after all. Najee Harris, Joshua Palmer, Davante Adams, aforementioned. Justin Fields, Javonte Williams, Elijah Mitchell, traded to Kansas City. Evan Engram, now with Denver. Man, I'm in on Najee. I have been. We've talked about it a few times. He was always, I thought, my guess was he was going somewhere good. I wanted it to be Minnesota originally, but Chargers is pretty nice. I guess the question is whether what they'll do with it. Is that Vidal? Is that a draft pick? Is that someone else? And then what kind of a workload does he get? If it's good, I think that could be, great value. You guys disagree?
No, I mean, this to me is like the universe healing itself. Like, I was touting Najee Harris on podcasts. Michael Dubner's writing articles about Najee Harris, one of the best values, mispriced player. We're behind ADP again. Okay, we're just, I think, about a pick behind his ADP. This is starting to feel like things are kind of moving in the right direction. Soon enough, he'll be a fade. I can talk about how he was the worst 6th round pick on the board, but it was an obvious. Daniel Raz for Leg Up wrote an article about a month ago that was like looking at the landscape of the running back position and how many teams needed running backs, and you kind of do a quick exercise like who needs starters and how many guys are ready to come in from the draft, and even though it's a great class, like it's not 10, and just immediately take a job. So it's clear that at worst, Najee was probably going to end up forming a committee with one of those guys. He probably still will, but you now have the potential that he is like the J.K. Dobbins for this team. And I'm not a Najee guy, but he's capable of doing that.
He was priced great before. He was very comfy. You just you take your 20% and you move on. Yep. And now that the right wing slappies have shown up, you say you tip your cap to them and you say thank you. Because the thing is there's this meta narrative like, oh, dude, man, who you really want? You really want a Chargers running back. They're just going to pound the ball. But the thing about these coaches that love to run the ball is they also are not interested in fantasy points or points on the board. Like they just want to win every game 19-13 somehow and just move on. Like there would be all these Dobbins spots. You'd be like, oh, dude, it's arrow up for Dobbins. Like I'm playing Dobbins this week on DraftKings, and he'd have a good game. He'd have 18 rushes for 92 yards, 4 receptions for 16 yards, and you'd be like, oh man, he really almost could have been smashing, and then he just never would because the team is not interested in smashing.
Yeah.
So he's
there was a lot of Dobbins games. Like I had him on a main event team where I'd be watching the game and I'd be like, I feel like I'm smashing, but then I would look at the end of the game and I would have 10.9 PPR points, but it was like he just had 26 carries for 109 yards. So just like it felt like I had forward momentum 3 yards at a time.
Yep.
I do think with Harris, like totally agree. He was a great pick at 106. Really undervalued. I think that the landing spot, I saw Gretsch wrote about it and I had a very similar take, which was like the landing spot's good, but the contract is way worse than I thought he was going to get. Like 1 year, $5.25 million, incentives up to $9.25 million. I thought he would have gotten something more like the Aaron Jones contract, 2 for 20 with 13 guaranteed. So as much as the landing spot's good, it increases the ceiling for him. I think it really decreases the floor though. Like that level of contract does not take an early running back pick off the table. That's like kind of a bare minimum running back investment from the Chargers. So I think there's a world in which that running back is drafted in like round 4 and he barely plays and Harris is just the dude. I don't think it's like inconceivable the Chargers still take a running back on, round 1 or round 2. And then by like week 5, that running back is the clear leader in the backfield. So I
think that's still very, very likely. I mean, it's a good running back class. So you like part of the when I was thinking through Najee before, part of the reason I thought he was a good pick is that like at pick 100, this is an acceptable range to take like the Zach Charbonnet type, like really strong contingent value, probably mixes in. And with Harris, you get that as like probably the end of the season if they end up bringing someone in. But early in the season, you have like a starter, 1A in a committee type, if they were to draft like a Quinshon Judkins or something like that, you could have Najee kind of starting the season. You also have the potential for them to draft like a Travion Henderson and have it be a kind of a committee all year. You also have the potential for them to draft somebody and them not be good, and then Najee has the backfield for the whole season. So at pick 100, there's lots of different ways for you to win. As he moves up, you might be drafting a backup running back. So, I just have a lot less interest.
Maybe the tight end for Michigan is too easy of a fit because of Harbaugh at pick 22, Loveland. But I like that idea more. And then I like every idea more than a running back in the first round, I guess. But do something different and then wait on running back. Then maybe I'm okay with Harris.
Well, but you feel better for sure. But I'd caution people with like this class where if they wait till round 4 to take a running back, that does not save Najee for, if you think about end of season. It might save his ADP, but think about end of season.
What's Vidal anymore?
Not much, but we'll always have that wheel route.
That wheel route on the right sideline. I mean, beautiful. And that'll be the highlight. The Birmingham Stallions, I fear, are calling. For,
I don't know, man. He's going to be great on the Blue Bombers. I was talking to Kyle Walters, our GM, and I was letting him know, keep an eye on Kamani Vidal. Might be unemployed in the NFL soon, so we'll have a nice Bombers jersey ready for him.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Ex-Charger Joshua Palmer next on this list, signing with the Bills. I don't expect Palmer to...
We have a Josh Palmer T. Higgins chart, or did those die with Sam?
Those might have died.
Where's the mystery player deck chart? That's what I was looking for. No mystery player, huh? Zach, come on. What's going on?
I don't have one. Palmer...
some random weird split yards per route run on slot snaps, huh?
Versus man.
We don't usually talk about slot snaps versus man, but okay.
I saw Brett Coleman doing a tweet where it was like he was criticizing the T. Higgins signing, and he had a stat by stat comparison with like a very cherry pick set of stats between Jawan Jennings and T. Higgins. And I was like, man, Sam lives on, man. Like this is a bet that never dies.
That's great. In Buffalo, I can buy that Palmer is a good fit for his skills, but I don't see it amounting to big numbers. Like, to me, he's about the same. I'm not drafting him.
No. What are you realistically hoping for like the fourth target on the Buffalo Bills?
You want 2024 DeMarcus Robinson. That's what you're hoping for.
But that's like so not Palmer's game. He's like so not a touchdown scorer. The touchdown, the DeMarcus Robinson on the Bills is Dawson Knox.
Yeah, this is literally just like human memory. Like people are like, "Oh, right, Josh Palmer."
Palmer.
That's
I drafted him.
Yeah.
I drafted him at 110 last year, so he's got to be good here, right?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I could take him. That's it. I mean, I don't think there's really much. And fine, fair enough. Like he's a, could he be the Zay Jones when he had a spike week in the right week on the Jags? Like, yeah, I guess he could.
I mean, he had no target competition last season he just got spectacularly dunked on by Quentin Johnston and Will Dissly, who everyone sort of assumed was like a blocker, and then just like ripped off a 6-week stretch where he was second on the team in targets. Like Josh Palmer think of Josh Palmer the way you think of like Justin Watson and Parker Washington and he just
I drafted Parker Washington last night though.
There you go.
As a 19th, 20th round pick, I think he's fine. We got him at like 203 on Underdog. He's draftable. I don't think taking him at the 189 is what I'm trying to do, but it's not like whatever at the end of the draft. If you have Allen, absolutely.
Yeah. Sure.
Right.
Now, do you think, Davis, that this is part of their plan to revive Dalton Kincaid? That they saw what he did for Will Dissly?
I think their plan is just like, I feel like the Bills decision makers really want Kincaid to be good. Like they really want to feel vindicated about that pick. So I kind of see it. Yeah. Hey man, he was injured last year. Tight end is a slow developing position. He was. They've been spreading that he was injured last year to anyone who will listen. Anyone who's like slightly kind of an insider of the Bills.
They did. They did the same thing with Gabriel Davis the year he came off an ankle injury in week 2 and played through it all season. And he was hurt. The thing they've said about Kincaid, which is not to me encouraging, especially in these streets, is they want him to get stronger. They felt that late in the season he wasn't strong enough. They changed out their strength and conditioning coach, and they want that from Kincaid. Sounds like they want him to be more like Knox, who they have.
I don't know. That is
bulk up, buddy.
That is.
You're talking about Josh Palmer getting brought in to make Kincaid happen. They brought in an entirely new strength and conditioning staff just because of this little weakling. Like that is catering to Dalton Kincaid. Like they're pulling out all the stops.
You say what you want about Kyle Pitts. They've never had a new strength and conditioning coach come in to get him him to bulk up.
Well,
as far as we know,
the Falcons have just waved the white flag on the Kyle Pitts experience. They're like, he's a deep threat tight end. It is what it is. We whiffed on the pick, and whatever we get out of him is a plus. But the Kincaid stuff is like, a dynasty manager who's like still trying to get the 110 for Travis Kelce or whatever. He's like, I know I should have sold him last year, but maybe I can get something. It's just like, you can just admit you whiffed on a pick. Like the Chiefs benched their left tackle last year. They just benched him. They were like, this is not working. He's just on the bench. Sometimes you miss.
CEH,
CH. Yeah. Literally just like Damian Williams. All right, there we go.
They were pretty quick on CEH. They honestly were,
Kincaid is the Bills CEH. Yeah, that is the exact comparison.
We actually had that in the comments. Yeah. Kincaid is the Bills CEH. Boom.
Yeah.
I'd like to live in the alternate timeline, by the way, where he never has that game versus USC and see where he goes in the NFL draft. Be interesting.
Didn't work out. Trade up for him. That's where we're at. Season high 52 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2 years.
52
Kincaid.
Now their cornerback was a running back, I think. Is that right? Am I remembering that?
That's a different part of the lore tree.
Yeah. But both involve Utah.
Jacob, who else on this risers list means something to you?
I think Fields has not risen enough, I would say.
Yeah.
I think that's a guy that probably should be another round or two, maybe even of ADP rise.
Well, let me ask you about
concept last year.
He starts 17 games, right?
Well, that's the thing. We're like slightly ahead of ADP on him, but I'd like to get outside the drafts where like his contract does not preclude them from drafting someone in like the second round.
No, it doesn't. But I just think like this is maybe just hunching, I guess. But I don't know. I look at Aaron Glenn comes over from the Jets, and like they had the chance on the Lions to draft the guy. They didn't. They instead went the reclamation project route. I think he's sort of viewing. He's going to try to do the same thing. He's going to build the roster up around the quarterback, and then either Fields is going to be the reclamation project like Goff, or he's not, and they'll draft someone later. But I feel like this year, like he's there to kind of change the culture, clean up the vibes a little bit, and I think they give Fields the whole year. I think also just because there's not that many good quarterbacks in this draft, and I don't think they're going to take like Shedeur at pick 7.
No, they're taking Jackson Dart at pick 7, brother. Stay woke.
No.
Have you? First of all of a sudden there's movement. Like Todd McShay's putting out stuff saying he thinks the Browns go Shedeur at 2. Cam Ward seems like he is going to go number 1. So like the whole
Hyper and Jeremiah had Shedeur at 3 today, both in their mocks.
Yeah. So there was this period where the NFL's like, nah, we're not that into these quarterbacks. And then they looked around, they see the Steelers and the Giants like begging Aaron Rodgers to play for them. And they're like, I don't mind this quarterback class so much. So I think we could see. Now, I don't think the Jets go quarterback round 1, but have you heard
42?
Have you heard the film guys talk about Tyler Shuck? They're in love.
Oh my God.
They're in love.
Sucks.
Enough.
They're in love with this guy.
Dude,
he's going second round. He's going to go second round. And I could see the Jets being a spot.
Okay, but then he's going to show up and they're going to be like, "Oh, like you're Christian Hackenberg, like we're never playing you." Like Tyler Shuck, what is this? He's like 26 years old and he doesn't even have good stats in college.
First of all, Justin Fields has never had a mentor. So right there, you take care of that.
Is he older than Fields? Possibly.
I think he might be.
Oh no, he's definitely older than Fields. Like maybe by like multiples.
Pat, this is
multiples. Yeah, he might be. He honestly
dog years older. Pat, this has been your idea to get a backup, a second quarterback that's alike, style wise, like the starter. This is Milroe at pick 42.
If the Jets don't take Milroe, fire everybody.
No, I think if I'm the Jets,
aggressive.
I don't. They've been there
before even coaches a game. He's out.
They've been there 1 month.
Yeah, you didn't take this probably bad quarterback. Like you're fired. Grab your things.
If either the Colts or the Jets do not take Jalen Milroe, then they are not organizationally committed to success on the field. I think.
Does this mean that one of the Jets or the Colts entire front office needs to be fired? Because like you've said this about the Colts, I think 2 weeks ago. So like if one of them, like whoever takes against Milroe, they can keep their jobs. The other
then the other guy gets fired. The other front office.
I don't think
The Colts guys have at least been there.
The Colts are not taking Jalen Milroe. So let me tell you right now, like I would love them to take Jalen Milroe. 2, I would love Chris Ballard to seek unemployment. Neither of those things are happening anytime soon. So
I'm telling you, dude, it's just extremely unserious if one of those 2 teams does not take Milroe.
Yeah, the Colts are extremely unserious. They're run by like a 65-year-old man who looks 130.
Jacob's tweeting at Chris Ballard about the White Lotus, hoping he'll take off to Thailand. That's he's hoping he'll seek unemployment in Thailand.
He's an LBH.
He's an LBH. He's shave his head and move to Thailand.
Jim Irsay actually is like an LBH. Like when you watch like all the groups of like the old people with shady financial dealings, like Jim Irsay would be right at home as an extra in the White Lotus.
Fields, by the way, I'm absolutely jamming the button on him right now.
Think he's ever taken
lorazepam? I think Jim Irsay goes a little harder than lorazepam, but I'm sure he's giving it a shot.
Are you guys not just like ecstatic to be pumping the button on Fields right now when after the depth chart is Tyler Shuck, Justin Fields, and I don't know, Jordan Travis, let's say they keep him. I mean, he's going to end up being...
They still got Tyrod.
I don't think he's under contract. I think maybe he's an unrestricted free agent. Maybe I made that up.
Check
that. Check that. Fact check me.
I thought they did.
So that's actually not great.
Yeah,
I was operating under the belief that Tyrod was a free agent because that's not great because you can bench Justin Fields for Tyrod.
But for what point?
Yeah, no.
Save your job.
I don't think they're in.
Not in year 1.
They're in like put a good product on the field mode. I think that they come from the Dan Campbell tree, and it's like let's get out there and play our hearts out, right? And get and kind of make this organization respectable again is kind of the move. And I think Fields makes a lot of sense. Like I was a big fan of them bringing Fields in. I think frankly the Steelers completely botched the situation not to have him as their guy. Now they're begging Aaron Rodgers. Like, come on. It's a terrible position to put yourself in. So I think it was a great move. And I totally could see them not adding competition to the room and just riding with Fields and building up the roster. And then kind of like what the Raiders look to be doing, right? The Raiders look to be like, let's get an environment that we can actually put a young quarterback in and expect them to succeed, even if they're not a superstar. And Geno Smith can kind of help captain us along until we're there. That could be what they're doing with Fields, but it's a lot shakier. Like the floor is lower, of what that could end up looking like, because we have seen Fields fail, and
right.
He was better last year, but it wasn't amazing. So he's a guy I think at the current price makes a lot of sense. If he were to rise considerably from here, though, then I do start to think about we could be talking about a guy who's not starting at the end of the year. And when you only have 2 or 3 of these guys, 2 or 3 quarterbacks on your entire roster, that really hurts. Especially if you're paying like a 10th round pick for this guy.
Well, that's why you got to take him now and not in Best Ball Mania when he's the quarterback 8, which he will be.
Yeah, I'm out if he's the quarterback 8.
I mean, we literally just did this, but we did it in reverse last year where he was the quarterback
Richardson?
6. And no, he was Justin Fields was the quarterback 6 in the big board.
Ago.
No, last year.
I see.
In the big board. Yeah,
the big board.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like, the last time that we had Justin Fields, now maybe Pat's right and he's not assured to start the whole year. But the last time that we went into a season thinking Justin Fields was going to start the whole year, he went at like the 4 or 5 turn, didn't he? Like it was like that year on the Bears.
That year on the Bears, he was.
No, he didn't pay off.
No, I think 5-6 turn with Burrow that year, if I'm remembering right.
2 years ago, right? I remember being at the Expo.
No, you're right. It was 4 or 5. My bad. No,
because you could take Moore and Fields together right at the 4 or 5.
Yeah, it was 4 or 5. Yeah.
Being at the Expo in Canton when it's the beginning of the preseason and Fields threw like a pass, like basically a lateral to DJ Moore, and he went 60 to the house or something in the first preseason game, and everybody went to the bar and argued about whether it was good. Like Fields put up, a couple of touchdowns right away in the preseason for the Bears, and we couldn't even decide on whether it was actually anything. I like the quarterbacks in front of them though. There's still Prescott. There's still 15 is May. Fields is 20. Yeah. I don't need to go much higher.
The other thing with Fields is like we did have this period last year where he's starting and wasn't like that great of a fantasy quarterback. Not that he was bad, but the dream of like, this dude is going to be this dual threat cheat code for fantasy. I don't know that we would really expect him to be used like that for the Jets. It's probably going to be a bit more traditional. And so like, what are we really even getting the guy that would, be worth taking? Like, does he have that ceiling, or were we always kind of projecting that on him because when he does run, it can be amazing?
Fields had 1,200 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns in a season. I mean, you just really do not find if I guaranteed you right now, he's playing 17 games, he's healthy, and the Jets are not an abject disaster. Let's say they win 7 games. Where are you? So it's not like a will they, won't they bench him thing all year. Where are you taking Justin Fields if I guarantee you that information?
You're guaranteeing me what again?
He plays all year, and they're not terrible. Not that much higher for me, though, still, Davis, because
I'm taking him way higher.
Jacob,
I would take him way higher, yeah.
Is there a Richardson? Is there a Richardson thing here where we want you to sort of learn? I don't want to say it the wrong way, but to real quarterback play stuff where maybe Fields does get 17 games, does quarterback a team that isn't terrible but isn't running as much.
I mean, Fields always has the high scramble rate, right? Like that's the thing with Richardson is he actually doesn't scramble that much. So Richardson, it's more based on design runs. So whereas like when you ask him to drop back, first of all, nothing good ever happens. But also he doesn't really scramble. He just fires balls into the stands. So with Fields, like I don't think it matters really like what you call, or like even if they call fewer designed runs for Fields, that didn't. I mean, remember the year we were like losing our minds over how few design runs he was getting called for him early in the Chicago tenure, and he was still getting there, not every game, but in these big spike weeks, he's gonna have these big scrambles. I would take Fields way higher. Like I'm looking at it. I mean, maybe it's not like he's materially better than a ton of these guys, but I just don't understand. Like, why would I ever bother other than stacking reasons? Like, I don't understand why I would take like Baker Mayfield or Bo Nix or like any of these guys that are like in the 88 to 100 range.
Well, Kyler's going 94.
Fields.
What?
Yeah.
We feel that much better about Fields and Kyler?
No. I mean, Fields is behind like Michael Penix right now. Like that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, I just think it's really flat, and it's really shocking how widely spread these quarterbacks are. Like, I don't think there's much of a justification for 50 picks of ADP between like Fields or even guys like Tua versus like Goff and, the Kyler, Bo Nix, Baker, that tier. Like that needs to get compressed.
Well, I mean, part of it for me is that once you get to that pocket, it's extremely compressed once you get there. And like, I want to live in this area. So like Kyler at 94 is a great pick in my opinion. And if Fields were to pass him, I would just kind of wave goodbye. Like I haven't drafted much Bo Nix because I'm like, what? I can get like Kyler and Dre
I would take
Caleb
Justin
Williams
Fields straight up right now, knowing what I know. With the information I have on March 18th, I would just rather have Justin Fields on my fantasy team
than Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand Bo Nix's price at all. And I think if Fields
Hayden decided to rank him as the quarterback 7 3 months ago, and people just were like,
felt like, well, that's his ADP.
I guess it is what it is.
I don't want to fade Bo Nix, I gotta take him in.
I don't want to have 0.
Imagine not having Nix.
I got my 16% Bo Nix last year, so I'll even it out with a 0% this year, and then we're fine. We're at market for 2 years. I don't know. He Fields just is Kyler to me. If he gets the full year, then he's Kyler. Then it's like they should go in the same spot.
Jacob, I think you're out in like 12 minutes. I don't want to.
I'm out in 9. Yeah, unfortunately.
9 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, Evan Engram, I think, might be interesting for a minute, but I also want to get the fallers in before Jacob has to run. How big of a win for Engram was landing in Denver?
Pretty big win. I think arguably like the best spot he could have gotten. I'm kind of at least in real life, I'm kind of an Evan Engram hater. I mean, in terms of real life football, I don't mean like I walk up to Evan Engram and just punch him in the face. I think Jacksonville generally made a mistake in using him as like an every down tight end because he's not
Me
that
too.
effective of a blocker. And so I think it's a big reason why the running game was pretty bad. And I don't think most teams would then use him that way. I don't think the Denver will either. It's just we've seen tight ends have success in a 65 to 70% route rate role in Sean Payton offenses. So you look at like what Jared Cook was able to do, Benjamin Watson was able to do. Even like I think Kobe Fleener had one decent season as that move flex tight end. I think he's going to be used really intelligently. So it seems like a big win if you're an Evan Engram supporter.
God, I just got shivers down my goddamn spine at the name of Kobe Fleener being invoked because
Kobe
holy
Fleener.
shit. That's the Kobe Fleener role was good for fantasy, but it was not a full-time role. It was very much like a hyper specific niche role.
Yeah, it actually makes me wonder, like, is that going to pay off an ADP of 130 or 120 as he moves up? We've been on Evan Engram because I thought he was like, it was like with Jacksonville probably shouldn't cut him because they're not like overflowing with pass catchers. But if they do cut him, he's going to land somewhere as a pass catcher. You don't bring in Evan Engram and ask him to block. Like he's got a very clear role. But Noah Fant plays about half the snaps. Like this can get ugly. Are you worried about the floor at all with him not having a full-time role potentially?
Yeah. I think his range is pretty wide. You could tell me anything from he easily out targets Cortland Sutton and is the more productive of the pair because Cortland Sutton's 30 years old and was kind of miscast as like a clear alpha wide receiver. Or you could tell me Sean Payton is just so addicted to being fancy that like Adam Troutman and Lucas Kroll and these other guys are out there to block and he has 62% of the routes.
Oh, the Nathan Yonke tweet of Adam Troutman as the Denver Broncos starting tight end, that is going to hit so hard. That's going to be like that is.
Oh
be,
no! I just saw
yeah.
It. Oh, I saw it.
Let's soak that in.
Oh, yeah. Troutman just played 70% of the snaps with the ones
until the first preseason game. Then it'll be going down by 12 to 15 picks. There's only one tight end that I looked quickly that I think I would solidly take ahead of him. And ironic because I did not like this guy last year, but it would probably be the Ferg dog. I think I would take the Ferg dog ahead of him. He's going to be playing all the snaps, going to run all the routes. I don't know. He's the same guy that we took like in the 6th round for some godforsaken reason last year. I don't really understand why he's now going in like the 13th. That'd be a dude I would probably take over Evan Engram, but otherwise I'm probably Engram had everyone else behind him. They all look like part-time people too.
Yeah.
And there's Kyle Pitts right down there at the end.
Well, I don't see the name Kyle Pitts. I scroll and then it's just like unidentified.
All right. Well, then us as the Slappy community, we're casting you out, man. We are casting.
No,
we're
we're way behind on Kyle Pitts and leg up, unfortunately.
Look, man. If you were drafting Kyle Pitts last year in like round 8 or whatever, and you can't take him in round 14 now, then you were never really.
That's what I said last year. I was like, well, I was taking him in round 4. Well, I was taking him in round 2. It's like, how many times do we need to do this? Like,
I forgot a couple more, Jacob.
At least one more time.
We're not done yet. I'm telling you, next year. What? You can't draft him in the 20th round? Let's go 20 rounds. You can't just take a flyer.
Like, we used to be drafting him in NFL fantasy football. You're not willing to play Arena League football to draft Kyle Pitts?
I will be.
Come on.
If Kyle Pitts is in the Arena League and DraftKings brings it back, I mean, absolutely, I will be there. I'll be there the same way I was there to play Trent Richardson in UFL DFS. Streets don't forget.
I mean, it just opens up so much when you plug in that min salary. There's so much you can do.
He's going to be catching passes from Case Cookus for what did you say, the Birmingham Stallions or whatever they are.
Case Cookus, dude. Case Cookus, he could play.
Fallers, Jordan Whittington with the Davante Adams signing in LA. J.K. Dobbins still a free agent. Jalen McMillan, DK Metcalf. McMillan, what do we have with him? Everybody's back. Godwin, done. No interest at pick 88.
I can't have less interest at pick 88. I don't understand where he was going in the first place.
It was always optimistic, yeah.
He scored a ton of touchdowns last year. But his stats were fine. Like he didn't have that impressive rookie year. And now he's the third option. And he'll probably run a lot of routes, but like he didn't really do anything prior to Evans and Gallup. I don't know. He's still got to fall like 2 more rounds for me to be particularly interested personally.
You have the rookies, Davis, right there in the same range. And Ibuka, I'm always taking the rookies over McMillan as well.
Yeah, I'm contractually obligated to be a golden slappy, but I'm not as down on McMillan as these guys because I view Cade Otton as basically like a functional blocking dummy on the field, like not a guy who's going to earn targets when Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Joe McMillan are on the field. It'll be a high volume, relatively speaking, passing offense. Baker, I mean, McMillan will not, he's not going to be like, oh, you took this guy in the FFPC main event and you're plugging him in every week and you're smashing him. But he's got like obviously mega contingent upside. We saw it last year when the guys were missing time. And he's got enough spike week stuff. I mean, there will be a 4-target, 2-touchdown game in there for Jalen McMillan at some point. Like, I think he's going around where, like, I mean, Shaheed and Downs, like, kind of similar things where the volume is a little bit uncertain, but the spike weeks are there. I think he's fine.
Colts guys are going to be fine. Daniel Jones is playing like 14 games this year.
Daniel Jones
and
he's
going to be
no
just
Joe
as good
Flacco.
as Gardner Minshew was. Like, we're going to be no, but he can be Gardner Minshew. Like, the Downs and Pittman prices are crazy. People are afraid of Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is going to be out of your lives by week 3. Don't worry about it.
I so often am like, I guess I should take Downs, and it is scary. Like, I will give the people credit here. I feel the same fear. Like, it is not a fun click, but Downs, even with some Anthony Richardson bearishness, I think is pretty underpriced. Pittman had a fracture in his back last year, which is like, kind of concerning for a guy who's not that great.
But the Anthony Richardson bearishness works for you. Like, you don't have, that's the thing. You don't have to fear Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson being the worst quarterback in the league. That's great. He's out of there, out of your life. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but then you got Daniel Jones. It's like, is Tommy DeVito going to end up throwing passes? Like, things can get bad. You know what I mean?
Sam Ellinger, he's going to be great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Jacob, once again, welcome to the team. Makes this even more
Thank you
fun
for
each
having
week.
me.
We'll see you next week.
Appreciate it very much. I will see you guys next week. Have a blast for the rest of the show, and excited to join you guys for the season.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jacob.
Good comment. Good comment from Sacrilegious here. McMillan basically scored the same fantasy points as JSN his rookie year, yet we are saying he had a bad rookie year. Curious.
Yeah, although it kind of reminds me of like Tyler Boyd, when we were drafting him as the number 3 on the Bengals. And it's like, I don't think this offense is going to support like 3 receivers worthy of a, top 90 ADP, top 95 ADP. Like, it does. He just shouldn't be going here anymore. He should fall at least 10 picks, maybe a little more. I mean, I guess you could argue that he's going to have like some early season value because Godwin's coming off the ankle injury and he is a second-year guy. Maybe we get a breakout, or secondary breakout because he kind of broke out last year. But
one of these years, Mike Evans isn't Mike Evans.
Yeah, but like Baker Mayfield's number 3 wide receiver at like pick 90 is really rich.
I mean, it's like there's obviously a little bit of contingent upside built in there. There's a little bit of the market not wanting to let go what it had before. That is big. Like, I don't get McMillan much anymore because I do have Golden and Ibuka ranked ahead of him. But, I think there's like a pretty good argument that after the top 50, 60 picks, kind of like the multiverse, like the contingent stuff matters so much. And he's one of the clearest. If you think about contingent value wide receivers, he's probably the best one in football. I can't really think of a guy.
Well, T. Higgins would be.
Yeah, but T. Higgins is the 2nd round pick. I'm thinking like
I
later
said
round
price
guys.
adjusted. Price adjusted. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I guess the issue that I have with McMillan is he's a number 3 guy, and so you're like last year. We're taking Christian Kirk a bit, and it's like after the year you go, in retrospect, it seems kind of fucked up that I was taking Jacoby Myers in the 3rd round, and this kind of feels like McMillan is sort of the expensive version of an 18th round pick. It's like we get like, hey, he's He's a solid player. He's definitely going to have a job. He's unlikely to, on talent, pass the top 2 guys ahead of him. He kind of needs an injury to really get a target share that's boosted. You know, it's like it's sort of Jalen Tolberty or something. Like, I know he's a much better player than that guy, but that's kind of, you know, it starts to get like a little bit like, you know, I don't want to be completely out because I think he's good, but it's just like, man, you know, at this price, when you have, like, I think Ibuka's good too, you know, and he's going to go first round and probably land somewhere where he's going to project well. And think about it from a closing line value perspective. Like, what are the odds that post draft McMillan's going in the 6th round versus Ibuka?
no chance.
Like, he's dead. He's dead to the closing line value on Golden and Ibuka and those dudes. So, and frankly, guys going behind him, you know, there's a chance that one of these other, like, there's a chance Jaden Higgins ends up as a 6th or 7th round pick.
Jaden Higgins, I think probably is gonna do that.
So Travis Hunter. Great point. I mean, he could be like a 4 if the Patriots take him and like, oh, he's the number 1 wide receiver, like 4th round pick.
Which someone will, I think. Which someone will actually do.
Yeah.
For what he costs.
Yeah. So I mean, there's an upside case, you know, that plays out over the course of the season, but there's really no upside case outside of a freak injury, you know, off-season injury to one of the guys ahead of him. Where there's lots of upside cases in the next you know, month and a half for these other guys.
Quarterbacks on the move or not yet, as we still wait on Aaron Rodgers, just how he wants it. Russell Wilson as well. Jameis Winston bouncing around a little bit. We've got Richardson and Daniel Jones on this chart. Kenny Pickett as well, Pat. And we talked about Fields already. I don't know.
I would like the record to show that I waited until Jacob Sanderson left the show before trying to compare Jalen McMillan to Jalen Tolbert. So it's fair to call me out there. Kenny Pickett, we have to talk about him. Can we skip him?
I don't think we do.
Kenny Pickett is drawing at least like 13% live to start week 1 for the Browns.
What do you think the Browns do? I guess. Do you think the Titans take Ward? I
think the Giants trade up for Ward.
Okay.
The Browns could also do that.
The Browns could also do it. They might feel that they're further away from competing. I think the Giants can reasonably argue we could win 10 games this year if we get competent. So they have the neighbors part. The defense played quite well last year. They have that left tackle who's always injured, but at least theoretically, if he's healthy, they already have the left tackle. So they can at least tell themselves they're closer. Now, Cleveland has like nothing. Cleveland has like Myles Garrett, an offensive line that always projects to be the 4th best in the league and then is always ass. Just like every year, people are like, oh, the Browns offensive line, they got dogs, and then they're terrible. Although that might be related to the quarterback play. But yeah, I don't know. Is Rodgers just going to retire? Can we just be done with this?
That would be funny. Like I would actually gain a little respect for Rodgers. Not a ton, but a little more than I have now.
I want what I want to have happen is for the Steelers and the Giants and I get whoever else to just sort of end up on someone else, and then he's Belichick at that point, right? Like he just couldn't get a job, and they'll tell a certain story about it. But I don't need him around, so I kind of hope that happens.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to play, he can play because he can go be the bridge / backup in Minnesota.
What a weird idea that. I don't get that at all.
I don't really get it either, but it seems like Minnesota's open to it. So now the Browns thing, there's been some buzz about them getting Shador, and it kind of makes sense that they're like that they, you know, we heard that they're locked into a quarterback at 1. I kind of thought, or at 2. I kind of thought that was like BS to try to get the Giants to trade up so they could get their pick between Carter and Hunter. Not that they wouldn't take Ward if he was there, but basically their number 1 player is one of the other 2 guys, and their preference would be to just sit there and take him. But they're in you know, dire straits. They might have to start Kenny Pickett. So I could see them doing Shador, but I could also see this all being like leading towards them maybe taking a guy in the second or third round and trading for Kirk Cousins. James Palmer had a report that like the thing of them eating the $10 million for 2026 was basically just buying them time to then move him later, keep him on the roster, and they could structure the deal so that they're taking the Falcons are continuing to take on the salary and getting compensated for doing so, basically. So they want, if they're trading Cousins, they want something for him, that they're willing to pay the money, but they get a draft pick in return. And so I think Cousins is still on the table to get traded, still potentially fills one of these open quarterback spots, and Cleveland still makes the most sense because they have Stefanski, who, might actually be able to coax something out of Kirk Cousins at this point, even though that's obviously going to be tricky to do.
Maybe Kirk Cousins is the most likely week 1 starter for the Browns, and they just haven't arrived there yet. I do want to say, of all the potential multiverses, I think Rodgers signing with the Vikings is the least likely. Actually, I disagree with the market pretty strongly on that. There's been no indication outside of like a couple tweets from guys who I don't really think would know about Rodgers to Minnesota, but like, I mean, they kicked, like Sam Darnold was gone like quick. Like there was not even really hemming or hawing. If you want a bridge quarterback, wouldn't you rather just go with the guy who just won 14 games than bring in this like melodramatic guy who's not even good anymore?
It's a horrible idea, I think, too. Like, and if we don't have Crack Rock telling us this, don't bet on it happening with Minnesota. I mean, we don't have Crack Rock pat it on the Rodgers committee idea, then forget about it. It's not happening.
We also, Arif Hassan has also talked about how they really are high on JJ McCarthy. So it feels like maybe there's a number at which Rodgers would be like, well, fuck it, let's try it. And that maybe that number is out there. I mean, that's total speculation from me, but it's not
such a bad
if they
idea.
wanted Rodgers, the report, like Rodgers clearly has put out, I would like to play for the Vikings. So if they wanted him, they could go get him today and it'd be done. So they must not want him that bad.
That's right. What an awful idea. Why would you even think about this if you're Minnesota?
I don't know.
All these other ideas make more sense. So
I really don't know. I can't think of a quarterback I would be less confident would be a good backup than Aaron Rodgers.
I know.
Gotta be of all 96 quarterbacks on an NFL roster, he would be by far the worst as a backup.
I'd rather have Trey Lance as my backup.
I'd rather be like, all right, we're trading 9 picks for Joe Burrow and he's our backup. Like he would be less of a dick and less of a poison to the whole organization. I mean, true. If I will say this, if Minnesota does do this with the idea that Rodgers will be a bridge or be a mentor, or it will somehow be positive for JJ McCarthy's development, they are basically the dumbest people alive and should be laughed at. And when they, basically curse their organization for another 10 years doing this, like we should all be like, yeah, it was clearly obvious that this was a bad idea.
The only worse idea, maybe because it's Minnesota, is Cousins. But, just of course that would never happen.
That's even a better idea. That's a better idea. That's a way better idea.
Bringing him back and having that on your Wednesday media sessions is Kirk Cousins in the background if McCarthy doesn't.
For all the thing about Kirk seems to be like a nice person. He when things went bad for him in Atlanta last year, he wasn't like, can't believe they benched me. Michael Penix isn't ready. He just he just did his job.
By the way, I don't know that they have the belief set here might be pretty similar between Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. So it's really, I think it just is a credit to Kirk Cousins, the human.
Yes,
that's really what it comes to. He is a better person to have in your building. I think by all the evidence that we have sitting here.
That Netflix show really changed his image. Cousins, like he was not this 4 years ago. He was the guy, all the different moments in Cousins' career and the big ego, and then Diggs leaves, and then that Netflix thing comes out with Mahomes in it, right, and Mariota, and everybody sort of really liked Cousins from that. So it's really changed.
I don't really like him. Like I think he's just like whatever, a total milquetoast guy. But I just am saying he's definitely, what? Russell Wilson would literally be a better backup quarterback than Rodgers, and he kind of has the same melodramatic, make it about me thing, and even he would still be.
Russell would
better
be
idea.
easily better backup than Rodgers. I mean, I really do struggle to think of a single quarterback who'd be a worse backup than Aaron Rodgers.
We agree. Next up is the two Colt quarterbacks. Indianapolis brings in Daniel Jones. We talked about this for a minute. Jacob apparently is not worried about Richardson, or not expecting anyway, Richardson to make it.
Yeah, he is worried about Richardson, but therefore not worried about the pass catchers, because we're going to get Daniel Jones to close the year.
Well, this was all. Go ahead.
They had to sign a quarterback that Richardson could theoretically beat in a quarterback battle, while also not leaving them completely stone dead if they decide, like, look,
right,
it's not happening. And so he can clearly beat Daniel Jones in a quarterback competition because Daniel Jones is bad. But if the season just goes totally sideways, you can like maybe scrape 9 wins together with Daniel Jones. As you're like, Daniel Jones is bad and worse than Richardson, but it's not like going to Jordan Travis or Sam Ellinger or whatever. Like, it's not just waving a total white flag on your season.
Yeah, I think that if they go to Daniel Jones, it will be a big boost for Josh Downs. Because Daniel Jones, he can be, he's much more accurate than Anthony Richardson. They'll probably have him run, so like the offense won't be a disaster. But it is going to end in everyone getting fired. Like, I don't think that there's a path to selling. Like, the second Daniel Jones gets in there, Richardson will go down as a mega bust, and you're not going to win 9 games with Daniel Jones. You're going to miss the playoffs, and everyone's getting fired, I think. So, I don't know. I kind of get the move from their perspective, but it just feels like it kind of cements their fate.
The other thing is you can also keep the offense the same. Like, when they would have to go to Flacco, it'd be like, okay, we're literally running completely different stuff. We have to change the game plan.
Yeah, that's true.
You could, Daniel Jones is a bad deep ball passer, like not in the same degree as Richardson, but you could basically run the same stuff.
I would say this is Steichen. What Steichen could be doing is saying, I got to save my reputation as an OC. Let me get Daniel Jones in here. And obviously he's trying to keep his actual job, but like, this is good for his OC chances going forward. Because Daniel Jones allows you to show like what I was trying to do. It's not going to work, but like, I can get something out of him to close the year where you go, okay, I think maybe Richardson was making this guy look worse than he was. We're not giving him a head coaching job, but he can go be ROC somewhere.
It was always a tough needle to thread, Indianapolis, with having Flacco be there before, and they wanted competition, but Darnold was too successful last year. If you brought him in, you wouldn't need Richardson. So this is like, I don't know how many other guys there were available that fit like right in that pocket, or somebody that, represents enough credibility as somebody to compete for the starting job, but not just come in and steal it, or either not be somebody capable of it at all. Like, you couldn't even make the argument.
I think Fields was their answer. And again, I am a Fields guy, but Fields would have given you he couldn't beat out Russell Wilson. He's our backup, but like, really, you're hoping he's your starter. He soundly beats out Richardson in camp, and you're like, we're going to get 9 wins out of Justin Fields, which to me feels like something you want. It's like in the Steichen system is more realistic, because you are actually using him as a dual threat, playing to his strengths. Like Justin Fields running the offense they're trying to have Anthony Richardson run, I think would work. Now, it doesn't work like amazing, but I think you could get 9 wins out of that. I'd rather try to get 9 wins out of that than Daniel Jones.
Colts' plan should have been Richardson, Fields, Milroe. That's I'll go to my deathbed saying the 2024 or 2025, 2026 Indianapolis Colts should have had a quarterback room of those 3 gentlemen.
Yeah. I mean, I like it.
I hate it. We failed. It's just they're too much alike. I mean, there's something to that, yes, of course, but no, I just I think this works. Let's go to running backs. We haven't talked about Carolina at all yet, really maybe all year, but Chuba Hubbard, nice story last season. Of course, the Brooks injury opens things up all the way for him, and he paid off. Rico Dowdle there now on this chart. You see the dotted line between Hubbard and Dowdle. What does that move do for you guys?
It feels like Chuba's falling.
Yeah.
And that feels great when you're
Good.
sitting in the 5th round and need a running back because Chuba's there now. I think in this running back class, we just don't. If you have Chuba, you just don't want them to take a running back, right? Like and they have Chuba signed.
They shouldn't.
Right? They really shouldn't. You get Rico Dowdle brought in, $6.2 million, which is not nothing, and will probably mix in. You have Jonathan Brooks. You can't count on anything from him. They cut Miles Sanders, but like. It's possible that Rico's just like the 1-for-1 replacement for Miles Sanders, and you just have like Chuba as the lead back, and they don't draft someone now. So I'm kind of into Chuba.
I think if you're a big Chuba bull, this is better than Damian Martinez or Brashard's, like someone with like some juice or whatever. Because Hubbard is clearly I think Hubbard is just like a good NFL running back.
His numbers last year were awesome.
Yeah, you just kind of have to hope that Bryce Young continues on this developmental curve. Like if Bryce Young takes a real regression and the offense is just not as good, then it's fine. I started out lower on Hubbard because my read of the situation was the Panthers clearly view running back as a position to solve, right? Because they take Brooks after getting that season out of Hubbard like very unexpectedly. They still took Brooks with the shaky knee and everything. Now I think they're just like, okay, well, Brooks we're just never going to, he's just never going to play for us, really.
Yeah.
He tore the same ACL twice. So I was worried that, running back is a position we have to solve. We're taking Amari Hampton. We're taking Caleb Johnson. We're taking Quinshon Judkins or whoever. I think this probably means they're not going to do that. Like, I think they're just like, this is our backfield. So it's good for Hubbard, I think.
When do you think Hubbard hits free agency? What year is he an unrestricted free agent?
Probably next year, right?
2029.
Well,
they signed him.
He's signed through 2028.
Well, when's the out on his deal, though?
The out is after this year, but cap hit of $6.3 million next year, which is what they're paying Rico Dowdle. So probably keep him at that price. And then you only save $2 million by cutting him. $9 million the year after, save $6 million by cutting him.
Yeah,
in
so
2028.
They paid him during the season, right?
He's
Did
not.
They pay him during the season.
I'll say
they
this:
paid him during the season.
He's not going to be on the Panthers in 2027. Or
I think he easily could be on the Panthers in 2027 at a $9 million price tag.
I don't
That's
know.
not that much, especially with the cap going up.
28-year-old Chuba Hubbard. It just feels like these guys never see that year. Like, remember when Josh Jacobs' deal got reported, and then basically it was just, this is just a sequence of 1-year deals, and then the Packers can get out of it whenever they want. That's what it feels like to me.
Isn't the point though that about their commitment to him as they're planning going forward and what that should mean for his volume this year, which is all good.
Yes. And this deal was signed. So I agree, Davis, about everything the Panthers were doing before last season, but in season they're like, well, we think we figured out one part of this, which is that we would like to have Chuba Hubbard on our roster at a decent price tag for potentially the next 5 years.
Right. They had no reason to do it then. Right.
Yeah. Let's make sure, because I like this contract. Like, it's a $5.7 million cap hit this year, 6.3 the next year, 9 the year after, 10 the year after that. You probably get out of the 10 year. You save $9 million or $8.5 million by cutting him then. It's more like 9. But the years before that, it's like, I don't know, is that kind of what a backup running back, or not a true backup, but like a guy in a committee is going to be worth? Like, maybe, it's not like Najee Harris money.
He's probably undervalued in Dynasty the way you're laying this out.
Yeah. I think they could base their long-term plan could be like, not necessarily to feed this guy, but that we have found a guy who is very solidly capable of being in the mix for us, and a really good backup at worst for a long time. And so I don't know that they're like, we got to solve running back. Like this contract is like one we found a guy. We would like him around for a while.
Yep.
So I don't think that they are, out of the running back business in day 3, but I at this point would be surprised.
Well, no team is out of like teams will just
the early day 3, let's say round 4, round 5. Yeah.
Yep.
But I would be surprised if they take a guy day 2 at this point with the Rico contract as well. Like Rico was good last year. They get him at a good price tag. They still have Jonathan Brooks as a potential like late season upside thing.
No.
Yeah, you bring him in and you get a little juice out. Not for us. I'm not drafting him.
No,
but I'm
Brooks,
saying like
Brooks is not playing this year. I think they've already even said that.
Okay. All right. That's probably right.
Let me double fact because I think he had to have another surgery. I'm gonna pull up his rotoworld.com.
Well, we don't know, but he shouldn't play. There's just really no reason to make that happen.
Players play.
Yeah. He players do play. But the Athletics Joseph Person writes that Jonathan Brooks is likely to miss most, if not
season.
all, of 2025.
Yeah, fair enough. So they're not counting on anything. But I don't know that you're gonna bring in like RJ Harvey because you don't count on
no. It would be like I don't know,
Marcus Yarns.
Yeah, round 7 Marcus Yarns. He surprisingly makes the team and is like their kick returner or something. So he's active on game day, Pat. Active on game day. That's our favorite thing. I want to talk about.
To be clear, I do think Brooks is like not in the player pool. That's for our
I want to
purposes,
talk about Jordan Mason because I think this is another thing where ADP inertia comes in. I think if we all got wiped clean and redid it right now, he would be in the Charbonnet tier of guys, like a clear standalone value option with giga mega contingent, and is probably of all backfields in the NFL least likely to get competition in the NFL draft because the Vikings still only have 4 picks.
Yeah, Mason's a smash right now.
Mason's a smash. Yeah.
Another guy that did well by having a good game against the team that wanted him. We had
yes,
Darnold in Seattle.
He killed the Vikings. That's so true.
Made a good impression.
We're good at the revenge game stuff, right? That's like fully baked in. But what we need, unrestricted free agent going against an offense that could use a running back next year. That's the that's the narrative I want us to get to in DFS. This guy needs to impress. This is a job interview game.
He doesn't know it.
Game here.
He doesn't know it, but right now he's actually applying for a job.
Maybe he does know it.
Maybe he does know it. Yeah.
These running backs, they should catch on. Like, dude, Jordan Mason they traded for this guy. He wasn't even an unrestricted free agent yet.
In a way, that's how everybody plays every week, right? Like just
so there's watching? This comment about San Francisco being a better spot than Minnesota. I mean, this is like the worst reading of a situation I can imagine. The first is no guarantee that he was even the running back 2 in San Francisco. Guerrero played well enough. Also, famously, I don't believe the 49ers with Shanahan have ever not drafted a running back. I believe every year they've at least drafted one, and I believe in over half of the drafts they've taken a running back before day 3. So you're not safe there at all. The other thing is when McCaffrey has been healthy, there has not been enough touches for any second running back at all. Kyle Juszczyk re-signed. He plays third downs. Third downs are not available for a second running back on the team. It is unbelievable how bad actually the San Francisco spot is.
Shooting at 100 is like perfectly on brand for them.
If you're doing mock drafts, just go ahead. You could just put that in right now.
Yeah,
I believe the stat is he averaged 7.8 yards per carry on outside zone runs, which is it's basically the 49ers run. There's also
a fair chance that the team is way worse.
I mean, they're what is it? They're negative $259 million in free agency net spend in terms of money they've saved and money that has gone out, like players that are not on their team signed to another team.
Age.
Yeah. The 49ers fans, the number 2 roles never save. I do think that this is because why isn't this huge for Guerrero? And
Guerrero is like the least safe running back 2 in the world.
Yeah, the reason is because it's called the NFL draft, and it could be quite bad for him. Minnesota, it was always like kind of weird. Like, how are they going to get their running back because they don't they have 4 picks in the whole draft, like you said. And one of them's in the first round where they're not going to take a running back. So it's like, my brother's a Vikings fan. He was like, I hope we trade down and then like use the pick we get by trading down to draft a running back. You know,
this is I'm just doing some historical 49ers research here. This was the 2020, so the COVID year 49ers backfield. This was the final Jimmy G season. Jeff Wilson Jr., Raheem Mostert, Jerick McKinnon, JaMychal Hasty, Tevin Coleman, all with more than 30 rushes. I mean, just like, if you think your running back 2 is safe there, then look at the backfield the next year, the 2021. The 2021 49ers had Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, Debo. They took Trey Sermon that year and then never played him because he stinks. It's just like, you think your running back 2 is safe, then you're about to learn a name, buddy. The 49ers are the ultimate, you're about to learn a name backfield.
Yeah.
You know?
Davis Price,
literally.
Tarian Davis Price.
TDP.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Breida had just left maybe by 2020. We're trying to figure out what kind of role he would get. Yeah, it's always this.
I mean, we just learned Patrick Taylor's name last year. Like they truly teach us names every year.
The famous example is Joe Williams, who Kyle Shanahan is like obsessed with, like can't like sleep because he's thinking about Joe Williams. And then Joe Williams, they trade up for him and he literally never plays. I mean,
do you think is John Lynch like, hey, Kyle, maybe let's work these guys out before we draft them next time? You seem to make up your mind pretty quick. Can we if we extend the workout 30 minutes, do we not have to draft TDP again? Like, what's going on?
Or Trey Lance at pick 3.
Well, Mac Jones, finally I mean, you want to talk about the loop being closed. I mean, Mac Jones, who Kyle wanted originally, is now a 49er.
Should we discount Brock Purdy because they're going to start Mac Jones now?
If you gave me enough truth serum, I think you could get me there.
I could just get you wasted on truth serum. Finally, you're about to pass out. You're like, Mac Jones is going to start for 49ers.
Mac Jones is starting week 3 for the 49ers. Brock Purdy not getting his contract extension because Kyle finally got Mac Jones.
Wide receiver slide.
All right, let me get it.
We see Godwin here and McMillan, who we talked about already. Cooper Kupp to Seattle. JSN looking good in the late second, early third round.
This is a
Puka
terrible signing.
Kupp?
Like Kupp and JSN together is like, it's like the Spider-Man pointing meme, but like a shitty version of it where one of them is like in the Spider-Man costume but doesn't have the powers, like didn't get bit by the radioactive spider. He just has the costume on. That is Cooper Kupp at this stage in his career.
I know that's kind of dangerous that we don't want to like think about what, could happen or is likely to happen is like the only thing that can happen. And it's possible that Seattle's really good this year. But if you think about the teams that are like most likely to completely implode and like functionally like not be teams this year, Seattle, I mean, the Colts are probably like the number 1, but Seattle is very high on the list, especially like teams that, aren't completely in the wilderness right now, a quarterback, like teams that like functionally look like they have it together on paper. This Sam Darnold deal being like basically a 1-year deal they can get out of. They get rid of Metcalf. They signed Cooper Kupp as a, like you're saying, just kind of like a mirror image of JSN. It doesn't feel that the offensive line is still a problem. Like the offensive line was a problem when they had Geno Smith, who gets the ball out really quickly. Now they have Sam Darnold, who's super, super pressure sensitive. Like this really feels like it could be an implosion type of season where like clean house, after the season. The downs, I don't know. It's just like, and part of it is the Darnold to Geno switch. Like I don't love that. I really don't. And they don't even seem fully committed to it. It's like they're kind of like, well, let's see if it works, and if not, we can cut them.
This is my Jackson Dart team. I think they kind of know.
It's this.
Kupp is local.
It's this or the Steelers.
That would make a lot more sense. Like their offseason would start to feel a lot more coherent. if they did Jackson Dart. Yeah.
If they internally have been like, he's going to be there when we pick, we like him. Darnold is the bridge quarterback.
Yeah.
Because I think the way the Darnold contract works is it's effectively cascading 1-year deals where they can just choose to opt out of it whenever.
Yeah, although I think it's sort of like the Daniel Jones contract from the year before, where like they need
massive
to decide
injury guarantees.
Yeah, and they can get out. Yeah, he's got to pass a physical for them to get out, and that's where I think like when I start to get like really nervous about the way the end of the season Seahawks could look, it's because that like they've missed the playoffs and now they're actually incentivized to move on from Darnold, which means benching him for who? Sam Howell? If it's Sam Howell, like I don't want. I saw that last year. I don't want that. Like, and it's a terrible fit for both JSN and Cooper Kupp. Like, if you're gonna have Howell, at least give him a Terry McLaurin or something that can run downfield. Like, it's if they have Jackson Dart.
The next slide is Seahawks, by the way, Pat. While you're talking about this,
if you have Jackson Dart as the guy you potentially bench Darnold for, then that makes me sleep a lot better at night because you start to think about the end of the season looking more like, Penix with the Falcons. And it's like, oh, this is actually kind of promising right now. So, yeah.
These are not great numbers on Kupp, to say the least. Like,
no.
The metrics last year were not kind. So, I don't know.
Sam Howell would be good for MVS.
Would he?
He points out.
Yeah, I think this is the Jackson Dart team. And frankly, the combination of basically like this trade Geno to the Raiders and then signing Darnold, that got me to stop drafting Jackson Dart every time because I was like, well, that basically knocked out 2 spots for him to start 17 games because the Raiders would have been an option, the Seahawks would have been an option. And so, well, I guess he would have been the bridge in Seattle still, but it effectively kind of knocked out a spot and a half for him.
You could have seen him going in for Geno at some point.
Exactly.
In Seattle, but not in Vegas and not for Darnold. It's different.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As we close on the previous slide, sorry, Pat, there are 2 names there I wanted to bring up quickly. Stefon Diggs and Keenan Allen. Yesterday I woke up to, Stefon Diggs reposted all his Buffalo pictures on his social media.
Uh-oh.
So we spent 5 seconds on, is there any chance? And everybody seemed to think there's no chance of Diggs being brought back here. Keenan Allen just kind of sits out there and didn't, if I'm not wrong, didn't drop off like Kupp last year for the Bears. I mean, was productive. Do you guys see him as maybe a value, or though is it too late to think that he could actually land somewhere that we like?
I think he kind of needs to re-sign with Chicago.
Yeah, unsigned on March 18th. It better be Chicago because if it's not Chicago, it means no one really wants him.
Yeah. Well, no one really wants him, but I think at least Chicago, you'd have, the consistency with the quarterback.
New England?
Literally, like anyone on New England would be so, you would have such the ability to consolidate targets that you'd have to kind of like leave the light on. But, outside of New England, it's not
okay. Good. I'm drafting Diami Brown at the end of drafts. Jacksonville, good money. I'm drafting Nick Westbrook-Ikhine a little bit also in the last round for Miami.
No Nick Westbrook-Ikhine for me.
I
am
agree.
taking a little bit of Diami.
Well, as you would say, stay poor. Get used to staying poor.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine's 29 years old. He has just he did score touchdowns last year. I don't know.
I have a hard time getting excited about him.
Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Waddle couldn't put up numbers in this offense last year.
Elijah Moore, I am surprised Elijah Moore is unsigned, actually. I kind of thought he would I thought he would be in the first wave of free agency. So I also am not taking him.
How bearish is it for...
Just quickly, Westbrook-Ikhine might be a name for your contingent value receiver thought earlier, Davis, when we're talking about McMillan. With Tyreek's age, I don't know. Maybe there's something possible there.
Yeah. It's just I think Malik Washington is better than him, so It's hard for me to move off that prior.
Yeah, I don't know. I just that's not an offense where I really want to be invested in ancillary pieces, especially at wide receiver. Like Jonnu and Achan are going to gobble up. Like if Tyreek Hill and Waddle aren't, getting the targets, it's going to be the running back or the tight end. I think it's just the offense is kind of already accounted for. The targets are already accounted for.
Yep.
And I would feel differently if like Nick Westbrook-Ikine was really intriguing or something, but if
he was better. You'd like him more if he was better.
Yeah.
You'd like him a little bit more if he's just a little bit better.
How bearish is it for Amari Cooper that the Patriots were like, really like what we saw out of this Bills wide receiver? Let's bring him in. And they meant Mac Hollins. That seems bad to me.
Yeah, Cooper isn't even on here. Jacob mentioned the Matthew Berry thing, and there was a Bill source who implied that they thought Cooper was done.
Cooked. Yeah, super cooked.
Yeah. And so we talked about like who that source probably is. I would guess it's the GM. I don't know. But like who's a Bill source, right? It's not going to be an assistant trainer. It's going to be somebody high up that he can't name. It's probably, there's a reason why he wasn't or hasn't been brought back, at least, Cooper.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
How are we liking Tuesday mornings?
It's great for me.
Good. Yeah.
I love a Tuesday morning.
Works well.
I like it too.
I got through the cold brew. The cold brew wasn't necessary, but I can keep throwing some coffee into water. It's easy enough.
Yeah, we get the coffee pours going.
You watered it down with water, coffee, not you just put ice cubes in it.
Well, look, I mean, so what I do is I take like half a bag of grounds and I throw it into water for a few days, and the water to grounds ratio is such that when it comes out, it's oil. It's literal. Like I've struck oil. It starts spurting everywhere. You capture it in the flask.
I just make it.
You got to cut it with water. Your heart will explode.
I just make it in the French press. I just put like 4 tablespoons in the French press and just I like every morning, like I finish my coffee at like 10 a.m. or whatever, and then I just refill it up.
You're not making cold brew in the French press. You're making a French press hot cup of coffee, right?
No, I'm sitting it in the refrigerator for 20 hours or whatever.
Oh,
and then so it just the grounds just sit there, and then I French press it.
That's a good idea.
And I hadn't thought of that in the morning. No, it's great, and it's not as concentrated.
I can't even comprehend cold coffee. I guess maybe I could try it.
That's how we know here's the age divide. This is one of the first times the age divide is really.
I think when I was your age, I'd never even tried coffee at all. It wasn't until my kids came along.
America yet. It was still making. It was still making its way up.
You would have read about it though. These coffee beans.
I was never even tempted to drink coffee.
It was making its way up from the West Indies when you were young.
Okay, on that note.
You had a caravan of goods that you were hoping to trade for coffee.
That's fair. We'll end it on a that's fair. Great to have Jacob Sanderson with us. Pat Davis, what are you doing this week? More of the same?
Swolecast right after this. Then I'm doing March Madness with Alex Harden from ETR this afternoon on my channel.
What's your favorite way to play the tournament? Like Survivor, brackets?
Survivor. I mean, I'll do all the brackets. I'm in Missouri, so I can't do like the bit. Like I can't join the big 4 money bracket contest. But I'm in a I don't know 4 or 5 different pools, and I'll be out by Sunday. But that Thursday and Friday, man, you're not beating that. Yeah,
1 winner each day.
Yes, yeah,
That's
one
great.
winner each day.
Nice.
It's the best.
Very good. Tuesdays at 10 Eastern, our new time. Great to have Jacob along. For Pat and Davis, I'm Mike. Thanks for watching.
Let me just say we're expecting to have the Sidekick live for DraftKings in hopefully today, if not tomorrow.
There we go.
Look for that. And yeah, we'll have some content up on the site over Legendary Upside this week. But
very good.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
See you
Thanks
guys
to
later.
Zach too for all his good work. See you next week.